Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're excited that you can join us for our interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. We're able to bring these discussions to you along with copies of the Positive Aging Sourcebook thanks to the support of our Positive Aging Community champions. Visit proaging.com to connect with them and find hundreds of resources. Today was an absolutely amazing discussion with Ginger Smith, who's an 86-year-old retired speech language pathologist who spent 2 years bedridden in several nursing homes. Ginger showed a variety of symptoms, including aphasia, hallucinating, and Lewy Body Dementia. She was placed on hospice where all of her medications were withdrawn, and she slowly started to recover. She's now living independently at home, and she shared with us her experience as a person with lived experiences who has survived, and she's eager to continue sharing with others. Let me share with you a couple of comments from people that attended this discussion live and interactive. Thank you, Ginger, for sharing your experience. It was absolutely amazing. You are indeed a hero. This is very inspirational. Ginger, you could be testifying before Congress, who seem to be in complete denial about the dementia crisis and how it impacts families, caregivers, patients. You are truly inspirational. So let's jump into this discussion and meet Ginger. And I need to let our YouTube and LinkedIn people in and get that live stream going. And there we go. Okay. So I've been looking forward to this discussion with Ginger Smith. Well, it's only been a couple of weeks because when I met Ginger, I had mentioned many of you who have attended our discussions know that one of my personal mandates is to put more real life stories on the stage, because it's one that we have lots of experts and we have lots of authors and lots of people out there that have done research and can tell you, how to buy a long-term care insurance policy or, how to make the move to assisted living. But nothing replaces hearing a real life story on an experience that a real person went through. And I had mentioned this on one of our discussions. And at the end of that discussion, I got an email from Ginger Smith. I think I immediately picked up the phone. I called her and talked about this and said, would you be interested in coming on and sharing your story with our community? And I was so pleased that she said yes. And so, Ginger, again, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. And you're in California, correct? So this is 9 o'clock in the morning, breakfast time for you. So yeah. Normally, I'll have somebody on here as like a book author or an expert in something, and I'll be like, hey, before we talk about X, Y, or Z, let's get to know you a little bit better. But Ginger, today is all about you sharing your personal life journey that has some twists and turns that are going to have us all scratching our heads. But let's just start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself and, who you are, where you grew up, and kind of the journey that led to some of these caregiving and healthcare situations.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Steve, with your organization. I support it so much that elders really need you. So thank you. Yeah, I'm an 86-year-old retired speech language pathologist. I grew up in beautiful California, where I still live. And I did have a terrific life. I had a fantastic life. I raised a family. I had a great career, volunteering career. But something horrible happened to me when I was about 75 and had to retire. And I can go into that later. I'll just tell you a bit about my life now.
Absolutely.
Then.
No, this is
okay.
great.
All right. Well, had a beautiful mother. My father was a youngest district attorney ever elected to office, but sadly, in World War II, he was wounded so badly, he ended up as a hobo, actually. And I was in boarding schools for 8 years. I had some really traumatic experiences there, horrible experiences, but overcame them. And ended up, um, I had a kidney disease and had some bad experiences there, but ended up fine. And went to the Pasadena Playhouse, which theatrical college, where I played Dustin Hoffman's wife in two different shows.
Holy cow.
So yeah, we're the same age exactly. He's looking pretty good, old Dustin
You
is.
look good too, Ginger. Let me tell you. So, and what
So
makes you look good is that smile on your face there. Okay.
well, yeah, it was a lot of fun. He was quite the character. I raised two beautiful kids. I did have a daughter that died in front of me through broken bones, a baby, which was very traumatic. I kept overcoming trauma, I guess you can tell. I ended up in Canada raising donkeys and training donkeys. I was a donkey trainer. That was fun. After that, sadly, after a 17-year marriage, we did divorce, and I had some more trauma in my life, and went back to college and earned my master's of science with straight A's, and I had a wonderful career. I worked with AIDS patients a lot, helping them communicate and
So
swallow.
your degree was in speech language pathology. Okay, great.
A Master of Science in Communicative Disorders, they call it.
Hmm.
And that I was actually um, let me see, a skater. I skated at age 60 in a precision group. We weren't very precise, believe me, but had a lot of fun with doing that.
Now,
But
skating, was this roller skating or ice skating?
ice skating. I
Okay,
fell in
and
love with
and
Ryan Boitano, the handsome skater. I thought I got to meet him. I'll become a skater myself, and I did. I did get to meet him, and he had a wonderful person.
okay.
Um, but about that time, I had begun suffering from symptoms of dementia, Lewy body type of symptoms.
Okay, so I'm just trying to keep track of this. So
Sure.
speech language pathologist,
Yep.
and now did you retire from that?
Yeah,
Or were you
I
still, did
had
you
to
get into the
retire.
skating while you were still working?
Well, I was skating while I was working, but that was 20 years ago when I was
Okay,
skating. When
no,
I was
no, I got it.
60. I'm
Yeah,
80 now. Yeah, 86
okay.
now,
But
actually.
around that time, you started noticing some healthcare changes.
Well, all my life, I struggled against certain symptoms that are similar to what Lewy body is. I've terrible insomnia, restless leg syndrome, different symptoms that at the age of 75 just got worse and worse, including more cognitive, um, behavioral, behaviors. And I was just basically forced to retire, which I did. I did some great volunteering, but the symptoms overcame me. Finally, they were so bad, I falling like 8 times in one year. Um, my son had to put me in a nursing home, and I was wheelchair bound at that point. And that was 8 years ago. I became so ill. My body just functions just were so bad that I was put in hospice.
Well, now wait,
But
before we go down
okay,
that path, let me ask you. Okay, so all these sound like more extreme. I mean, falling 8 times,
yeah.
being confined to a wheelchair,
Hmm.
and then it sounds like these symptoms of Lewy body dementia. Um, when your son started, and was your son very active in your life at that point, like
Oh,
trying?
very much.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very much. He's very brilliant, and he's a medical investigator is his profession too. So,
So he's familiar with
oh,
medical
very much.
problems. Yeah. And so
Oh,
it sounds like you know, mom, I think the only choice is that you go to a nursing home. Was that kind of the dialogue?
absolutely. Only choice. They tried the best they could, but I was overweight at the time. My son couldn't lift me. We kept calling the firemen, very gorgeous firemen, I must add.
You got something about gorgeous people in your life there. Now when this decision was made, were you resistant to going to the nursing
Actually,
home?
no, because
Okay.
as a speech pathologist, I worked in Stanford's neurology clinic. I knew what Lewy body was. I didn't realize I had it. I had, I knew what dementia was doing to my family, and I wasn't resistant for some reason. I gave up driving too, but on my own, I
Oh,
wasn't resistant to that
let,
either.
that reminds me, before we sort of journey into the nursing home, you were also, I think you told me you were also a caregiver for your mother. So you had personally gone through a caregiving experience.
I went through the caregiving training and was a caregiver for my mother. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your experience being a caregiver for your mom.
Well, luckily, she was an incredible human being. So she didn't have any the dementia at all. She was very, very bright and active, as was my grandmother. So it was a, I don't mean to say easy experience, but it was a fulfilling experience. And I knew, it actually, she died at home. She had a beautiful death with her family surrounding her. Incredible human being. So I was honored to be her caregiver.
And you were caregiving for her in your home or her home?
Yes, and we actually shared a home. I moved in to take care of her. Yeah,
Okay, great. You
and
know,
where I live today.
I'm
Yeah.
glad we jumped to that, because so many times it's great hearing a positive caregiving experience, because many times it can be challenging for
Oh
folks.
yeah.
But so you know, again, what makes your story so interesting is that you're in the health profession, your son's in the health profession, you have been a caregiver, and now all of a sudden you find yourself in a nursing home. And I
Right.
think there's a lot of us in this field where we're helping and taking care of others, that sometimes it's hard to imagine that now I am that person that I was taking care of. So let's get back on track with your journey. You're in the nursing home. You've been diagnosed for all this stuff. Your son is actively involved, and I'm assuming he's visiting you
Oh,
at,
yes,
at
at that point it was, and I wasn't actually diagnosed. They didn't know what was happening to me. They couldn't figure it out. They thought at first it was Parkinson's because my tremors were so horrible. Then they thought it was frontotemporal, and that involves horrible behavior, which I had. Um, they didn't give me a definitive diagnosis at all until I was in hospice, basically, and at
and
that point,
this is 2 years of
uh-huh.
living in the nursing home. So
Right. I started off in a subacute, and then after they only give you so much therapy, as you know, and I had speech and PT, and they were wonderful. I had a great experience there. And the subacute, I had always great experiences with the caregivers. What I want to mention, even the bad caregivers were always respectful of my bowel and poop issues, and I think that's something kind of wonderful that it's when you think how embarrassing and humiliating that is when you're actually, I'm going to say this and maybe I shouldn't, but one of my behaviors was I was playing with my poop, And
Oh,
can you imagine the caregiver not making me feel bad about it? And they didn't.
oh my
So
God. Yeah.
yeah,
And thank you for sharing that. But yeah, this is again just um a big hug, virtual hug to anybody doing this job is
yes,
that, and the fact is here we're talking to you right now. You're this pleasant, wonderful person, but when we're caring for people with cognitive issues,
mhm.
they're not themselves and they're
No.
doing things, but we still have to care for them. So
It was really, really hard because the type of dementia I had, I looked perfectly normal. It's not like, I wasn't wearing a bandage anywhere. I was looking normal. And yet when I would stand, my body wouldn't allow me to stand. I just fell.
mm,
And I think one of the things that helped me in my recovery, I'll just throw this in, is how I wanted so much to be able to stand for my caregivers because I knew they had to leave me in bed. They had to leave me in wet diapers. I had to use a Hoyer lift in order
oh,
to be weighed. That's a humiliating thing. I don't know if, you know, um, you're slung and your body's hanging out and it was just horrible. And I wanted so much to recover for their sake and mine. And I think that empathy quick started, well, it was one of the things that quick started my recovery. So I kind of wanted to throw that in, that to honor the caregivers for that.
that's great. Um, okay, so now you're living here in 2 years, and we can go back to that and some of the experiences, and I'm
Sure.
sure some of our audience members may have some of the experience of living 2 years in a nursing home, what that was like. But let's
Ooh,
kind of fast forward. You said
okay.
you're now on hospice, okay,
Yep.
and and this treatment begins, and tell us what happened at that point.
Well, I was aphasic. I was bedbound, tremoring, couldn't hold a glass, confused, of course. My cognition was shot, barely responsive, hypotensive, blood pressure. I was ready. They thought I was going to die. They ordered my cremation, even, a little early. Um, and I was on 30 different medications, and they withdrew, which in hospice, they don't put you on medication except for pain medication. And for some reason, I really can't tell you why. Like I say, empathy is part of it. I think resilience, I think neuroplasticity is a big, big part of it. And what they call autophagy, AUTHPHAGY. It's the starvation of bad cells or neurons due to sudden withdrawal of food. I thought food was lava. I wouldn't eat. I would look at it and I would see lava, and they call that, I call it anorexic delusions. So I lost 140 pounds. I was overweight. I became terribly emaciated too. I don't know, Steve. I don't know what happened. I really don't. That may have kick-started it, but slowly, I began to recover over months. Took months, and after our hospice, about 6 months, I was well enough that my son brought me home. And I
Holy
still was
cow.
pretty, the dementia hadn't completely cleared. And that was 2 years or 2.5 years ago. I had a neuropsych evaluation and it cleared me of dementia. It left me with they call mild cognitive impairment.
Huh.
Oh, look at that. Autophagy. Yeah,
Yeah.
algebra right there. There you go.
Yeah, no, I looked it up there, but
Yeah.
wow, okay, so you had you had all of these sort of things that people thought were going on, but
Hmm.
it's so how many meds were you taking?
30.
30 meds.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what kind of interesting is as I began to recover, I was able to climb out of my bed and I found my hospice notes and I wrote down those 30 meds, and I have a record of that. And I
Wow.
would climb back into because I was suffering so much from fear of my caregivers, who really they didn't know I was climbing out of bed, and because I was wearing a diaper sometimes up to 14 minute hours, at a wet diaper, wet poopy diaper.
Oh,
It was so horrible. I learned how to climb out of bed, change my diaper in the middle of the night, and come back to bed. And I had it was just it was a horrible experience. This was all happening during COVID, by the way. So
holy
you can
cow.
imagine what
Okay.
COVID has done to nursing homes and the people living in them.
But okay, now out of curiosity, and there's several questions on this topic of 30 medicines. So after the fact, like, have you shared that prescription list with any pharmacists or folks that could potentially diagnose that what you were experiencing was caused by either one or two of these medicines counteracting with each other?
Yeah, I think it's important to know that when my dementia started, actually, I think it had it all my life, but it really manifested when I was only on one medication. So I don't think the dementia was started because of medications, but I think the withdrawal of them was really important to my recovery. I haven't shared that with any pharmacists. I know my medical primary and my psychiatrist both have cleared me of the dementia and are really happy for me. I'm only on one medication now, by the way, a high
Wow.
blood pressure pill. So I
Now,
went from 30 to 1.
now Joan has a question. You're
Sure.
referring to this to dementia, and I know why, because somebody said that you had dementia, but she's wondering, could it have been a delirium diagnosis, or has anybody ever
Well,
talked about?
definitely had delirium as part
Okay.
of it. Yeah, but I also had the typical cognitive, the behavioral, all those, the hallucinations, the all those. I had there's a form from the Lewy Body Association which lists about 30 symptoms of Lewy body. For instance, I had 28 of the 30.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, so
I mean, there's
but
not much
what, can
more.
I throw this in, Steve? I want to
Absolutely.
say right away, Lewy body cannot be definitively diagnosed until autopsy.
I
So
know.
they diagnosed me with at one point with dementia with Lewy body features. That
Okay.
was one of my diagnoses.
Okay. So, all right. So you have this slow, although I would say, like, given the fact that you were living in this nursing home for 2 years, you had the lead up to moving to the nursing home. The fact that you had a turnaround in 6 months, to me, is actually seems kind of rapid.
Yeah.
And would you say that, from your perspective, that the medication and getting off all those medications was probably the main reason that you recovered, or was there something else?
Well, I think it was one of them. I think the autophagy was one of them. I think
Okay.
resilience and neuroplasticity, and what I mentioned, empathy, um, can be affirmed after. She's saying, yeah, I had all the testing, but the actual definitive, they have to wait till autopsy. I
Yeah.
had MRIs. I had a small stroke at one point, frontal stroke, but it didn't affect anything. I have a little brain shrimptoms. Sometimes I gotta say, I come up with, I still have some symptoms. I still have some word finding, obviously. like, and I have horrible insomnia. I'm gonna throw out, I still have incontinence problems,
Okay.
only the pee, thank goodness, not the poop.
Yeah.
So I still have some. I need a walker, for instance, because of my back, laying flat on my back for so long. And I do have some spine. So, all is not perfect. I'm not a, you know, yeah, I
Well,
still have stuff going on.
well, Ginger, I'm going to say that number one, I and I think you said this, but other people in our audience have said it too, is I think that empathy and that drive and the neuroplasticity that you still possessed to be better and live another day. I imagine, I'd put that above those 30 meds, is that I think the meds helped get you out of that fog so the other parts of your personality could work and lead you to us having a discussion today.
That's beautiful said. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Because so many people want to say, "Oh, it's the meds," but no, it was so much more than that. I
yeah.
think.
I think
Thank you.
I get the read that you were in a fog, that
Oh yeah.
and that was the drugs were probably keeping you in that fog. But once you started seeing the light, and then the other thing I want to commend you on is just your sense of humor and your ability to kind of, well, number one, to share this with other people,
I
but
do.
also just that, hey, this is I've got to, you have to reinvent your life. You got a walker, you got these various things, but I want to touch on that now is that, so how long has it been now that you've been out of the nursing home and you're
Um, 2.5 years.
okay?
I want to say that my goal, and to your listeners, is to help. I mean, that's what my heart is full of. If I can give some help, as a person who lived through this, it's so rare that someone who's lived through as serious issues as I did can talk about it, can talk about the experiences, why I hate showers, for instance, why I hated food. I wasn't being disruptive, I wasn't being hateful, it was my mind that wasn't obeying. And so I know a lot of caregivers, my heart goes out to them, but they see their loved one with dementia being so mean, they think, and it's because our brains aren't working. It's not because we're a hateful, mean people.
Man. Yeah.
So if I can help with that experience,
Oh yeah.
that would fill my heart, like I said.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I know, and my goal is to share this interview with you far and wide to hopefully inspire other folks and inspire us, those that either have family members, or if you are a caregiver and you see that bedbound person who's looks like they're knocking on death's door. Ginger, it can happen. Okay, we're all going to knock on death's door at some point in time, but you're this example of where it didn't need to happen. And so let's talk a little bit about your life for the past 2.5 years. You're living in so your son never sold your condo. Like,
No, unfortunately, because of my dementia, I signed up with a reverse mortgage and kind of lost control of it. And that's one horrible thing about dementia. I had what I was able to cover it so well, pretty strong, resilience, and I was able to cover how much it was affecting my finances, signed away my condo. I can still live in it, fortunately.
yeah, so with the good
Yeah,
news is, with a reverse mortgage, as long as you're staying there, it's still yours.
right. Except if when I die, then
There's
yeah, it
no,
doesn't. And I would, and
okay.
it's pretty, it's a cute little, it's a little condo. It's tiny. I have a beautiful view of the a lagoon I'm looking at right now. I'm very lucky for that nature
And your
is,
son, he
add
lives,
nature to my recovery.
your son lives in the same condo, not in
Next door, next
next.
door.
So now, was he always living next door in the condo?
He moved in. Yeah, actually about 10 years. He actually moved in about 10 years ago.
Okay, so you've got a great close relationship to your son. That's wonderful.
It's a little complex because
Yeah,
I was
well,
so hateful not being what dementia does to you. I was pretty hateful to him and his wife, and other family members. You know, a lot of people ghosted me. And I'm slowly getting them back in my life. I have a wonderful grandson in Southern California. I have friends that I got back in my life. I discovered my phone book and started calling people who basically, and because of COVID, as we know, I had absolutely no visitors for almost a
huh,
year, I guess. I'm a little vague there, but no one. I was so isolated. I was in this white room, and I didn't have a view. The window was the next door. I was just, and that isolation was a horrible thing. Oh yeah, go yeah, was a horrible thing that happened to a lot of people. Not just me, but between the dementia and the isolation. Oh my gosh, yeah.
man. And so uh, you're repairing these relationships that you were not in this current cognitive state. And I imagine that prior to this, um, you seem like a lovely, caring, empathetic person, and you didn't tell us anything about sort of having fractured relationships through your life. So this, it was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type, uh slowly, that overtook you and caused you to fracture some of your relationships, but you're repairing those now, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly true. I was, had a lot of wonderful, wonderful friends that, like I say, getting back,
Okay.
at my age, unfortunately, a lot of people, excuse me, are not here anymore
Yeah.
at 86, but yeah, I do.
So
And I love Zoom. Oh my gosh. I mean,
that's great. So tell us about your life, and then I'm going to read through some of these comments because they're wonderful. But tell us about, like, what are the things that you enjoy doing? You mentioned that you've got a walker, so you've got some mobility issues. But kind of tell us a little bit about your life outside the living in this nursing home and bouncing back from this. Like, what is it like?
well, like I said, I gave up my car, so I go on volunteer buses, the Ready Wheels, and I went to the library the other day. I mean, I'm slowly bringing things back into my life. I have a friend who used to take me to McDonald's. That was a big highlight. You know, I'm writing my memoir, so I would love to share it with anybody. If you wanted to give out my email, if you can do, I don't know whether you can
Oh,
do
as
that
long
or
as
not, but
you're Ginger, if you give me permission, I can drop that in to
okay.
chat, and I know that we're going to expand your friend network a little bit here with this. So I'm more than happy to drop that in there, and uh, so people can get in touch with you, and I'm sure that your memoir, and I'm assuming it's going to include some of the things that we just talked about, would be an amazing read for many future generations. And
Well, it's very frank. It's not easy to read, especially for caregivers. I have to talk about the fact that a lot of them kind of don't want to hear about the fact that I gave up all my meds because they want to keep their loved ones docile, and I don't blame them at all. I'm not an anti-med person. I just am an anti-polymed person. Does that make sense?
oh, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And I mean, well, what's interesting today, one of my friends on LinkedIn shared something with me that a doctor in Canada wrote a prescription to one of his patients to get a puppy dog. You know, and it's sort of you've shared throughout this our discussion, like nature, okay, like
Mhm.
the ability to look out at that lagoon out your window, that can be more powerful than any expensive drug that we're taking.
I'm so fortunate to have that. I just have a baby Canada goose. These little babies were just in front of me about a half an hour ago. So
Yeah.
I miss my animals most of all. I don't cry a whole lot about what happened to me, but when I think about the loss of my animals, I just break down. And
Yeah.
my big goal is to get at least a cat back. You know, that's my goal in life. Help people and get a cat back.
I love it. Okay, now let me tell you about, or let me ask you, and then I'll get to some of these. And folks, if you've got questions for Ginger, go ahead and throw them in there. But you seem to me like when you went, okay, before the dementia, before you all of this happened, you were living life, okay, and now you've gone through this whole experience, and you also mentioned that you've gone through a lot of traumatic experience and you
Yeah,
recovered, and I think
right.
that is also something that
I
in your
do.
DNA that makes this happen.
I
But
do.
what is it like now to be here talking to me and others all over the country, looking out that window at the lagoon and the Canadian geese? And even though you've got mobility issues and other things that you're dealing with, what is it like to breathe air and be alive after everything you've been through?
Oh, it's so wonderful. It's so freeing. I'm just honored to have had all the experiences I had and to be able to come out of it and just live. And at 86, I want to keep living, you know, too. And I got to throw in, there's a little bit, you know, and not much, thank goodness, a little fear of can it happen again? Because you know, I want to be realistic here, but I try. I just put that back, and I know put that back. When I think that thoughts like that, I throw them back. I throw them back. I do.
Yeah, you know, and I think the and I'm kind of brainstorming with you here. The fact that those thoughts are popping into your head, I yes, for your self-esteem and for you to live and take advantage of every day, it's very important to find a place in your mind for those thoughts. But the fact that you're thinking about it, what it tells me is that you have some thought for preparation if another crisis happened to enter your life. And I
Yeah.
think
Hmm.
for many of us, it's sort of like we don't want to be we don't want to fly blind to. It's important to live in the now, but it's also important to understand, and you're a living breathing example of this, is that our healthcare can change. And we just hope that we get the proper diagnosis, the proper care. And your story is one that reinforces that. So
Have you heard of the poor little 95-year-old that was tased? Have you read about that
no.
the other day? Yeah, we really need, especially dementia. Um, the word finding here, education for the police, for instance, for the healthcare providers. They need to know the fact that we are not doing this on purpose and that our bodies are not obeying our minds. And
Yeah.
they need it. And instead of blaming or you know, doing like they say, tasting this 95-year-old, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just unreal. So if I can help, if I can help that as a person who lived it and can
Yep.
talk about it still intelligently, I hope, even with my word finding,
um
that's what I want to do.
that's great. Well, Margie's got a great question, and she says, what do you feel is the key to challenging and questioning medical professionals' decisions about our care in a respectful but firm way?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
what are
true,
your thoughts on
Margie.
that?
Yes, there's more education about why people act the way they do when they have dementia, and I think I really respect. I have a wonderful primary. I have Kaiser, who's it's been terrific, but they need to know that needs to be emphasized more. I have a lot of respect for because I'm not against what happened to me. I'm not blaming anybody on it either. They did the best they could under the situation that they had. And like I say, I was able, they call it sun. It's not sundowning, which is the opposite. It's sun shining, is when someone maybe with a certain amount of education can fool people into not realizing how bad the dementia they were, how bad it was for me. I did that with my family. They
Yeah,
didn't know because I was able to pull it off, so to speak.
wow. Okay. I see Ellen Belk is in the audience. She's got a ton of great comments there. Lots of people, including Ellen, thanks for sharing so candidly, dear Ginger, and certainly recognizing care team members who provide care in a non-judgmental way. And she's had residents that were properly diagnosed with dementia who had similar symptoms with incontinence as you described. And the and Meryl, we've talked about this a bit. Meryl says the concept of wanting to improve plays such an important part in the healing process. You did not give up. I mean, and once you got out of the fog, I think those medications were putting you in a fog for that willpower to take over. And let's see. And Ellen also says, I've had more than a handful of residents on hospice care that were able to come off hospice because their condition improved so vastly. It's almost like, I think that the reverse could happen. Okay, is that, hey, let's try taking Mrs. Smith off all these meds. But I think our medical system is so litigious and so challenged that the only way that you could have got to the point where they took all your meds off is like, she doesn't have long to live. Let's put her on hospice. And
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I remember emailing my doctor saying, I don't, can't you take me off? What I don't remember what the certain med it was, but I wanted to be off them. But then my behavior was so awful, they felt I had to put. So I hope medical science maybe will come up with a med that doesn't have the horrible side effects, the fog, and a person can recover, or even if they don't, can at least live a comfortable life, not embarrassing or humiliating or antagonizing caregivers, can live
mhm.
a comfortable life with meds.
And
That
Meryl,
and I have a lot of hope for the future. They're doing wonderful research is my hobby actually, and I really see that just now Parkinson's, they're finding that people with inherited type of Parkinson's they can discover. So things are happening, really good
the
things.
treatment of Parkinson's and movement disorders, we have Dr. Falconer on here regularly. I'm just blown away. The problem is that people were diagnosed 20, 30 years ago, and they've never talked to somebody, and getting on the modern treatment can pretty much take care of a lot of the cases of tremor. Meryl says, my husband's a retired nurse practitioner. He told me he's seen cases where removal of all medications, especially when they're not working, becomes key to healing. And yeah, I mean, so really looking at that. And I know we've had some discussions on, also there's tests that we can take now that talk about the different medications, types of medications that we should be taking based on our own body type.
Right. I heard of that. I apparently it's pretty expensive yet.
Yeah.
But that one
Um,
you're talking about, yeah.
let's see. And Carolyn, she asked, what do you think are the reasons for your recovery beyond the dementia, beyond the meds removal? I think we've talked about that. That was an earlier question. And Shauna says, as a pharmacist in the geriatric specialty, I'd love to personally speak with Ginger. Deprescribing medications is a big part of what I do. Absolutely, Shauna, hopefully you got Ginger's email. And let me tell you, if you all want to come back on, you and Ginger, after you talk to her, and I tell you, Ginger, it would be awesome to have you back on if we can get somebody like Shauna to look at that medication list. And wouldn't it be a great discussion to look at her medication list and have an expert describe what she was taking, why she was taking these, and how that could have possibly led to some of the fog that you were in there.
Yeah, hospital nurses and pharmacists need to learn. Yeah, absolutely. Dementia is kind of the hidden bad child, because you don't, it's not like I mentioned, you don't wear a bandage over your head saying, I have dementia. Be nice to me, be understanding, because I'm not, and so here you are, here I am laying in bed, able to move, because I was able to move a little bit in bed. Then they would try to stand me up and plop. There I was down on the floor. Why is she doing that to us? Why is she being deliberately antagonistic? And I wasn't. And if I could just get that across to caregivers now, your loved one, yeah, there's some bad apples, there probably are.
Yeah.
But basically, if I could get that across, that we did not mean to be the horrible people we were,
Wow.
because their minds were against us.
What a wonderful message. Oh, wow. And Kelly says, I'm amazed by the candor, compassion, clarity, and humor and realistic recounting of an incredible story. Bravo. Let's see. I'm just kind of going through here because I see since I started looking at this, there's 19 more messages here. Everybody, I will have all of this chat with the recording, and I'll do a podcast of this too. And I recommend, let's all share this far and wide in your resources. Feel free to share it, because Ginger, this is such a rare and wonderful message that you're sharing with us. And Angela confirms, yeah, with a reverse mortgage, you can live there as long as you want. That's one good thing, that while you were away in the nursing home, that your son never sort of made the decision that, well, she's not coming back, right?
Well, toward the end they did, and when I came home, most of my furniture was gone because they thought I was dying. I think they wanted to rent out the place, whatever. I'm not sure. Most of my stuff was gone because they had given up, and at one point, and then I started to recover, which wasn't expected, and all of a sudden, oops.
Well, you're really fortunate there, because I could certainly see how somebody who's, let's say that you've lived in a nursing home for a year, and it's sort of like, well, hey, we might as well get rid of her condo and let's call a reverse mortgage company. Or even, the thing is, had somebody let the reverse mortgage company know that you were living in a nursing home.
Or you're allowed to live a year away. I'm not sure exactly, but I think people who know probably can say, but yeah, you don't lose your reverse mortgage and then that's why they had to bring me back a couple of times. I did come back from nursing home experiences and
Oh,
failed completely.
oh,
Failed and was
okay. So
horrible.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting twist to the
Uh-huh.
story.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
okay. Um, and the everybody is really loving your millennial slang where you referred to your friends ghosting you. They're saying that you're a very sassy and updated on the modern slang.
Okay.
And let's see, Alice says, I'm seeing a similar situation with a friend. She's now living in a memory care unit. Her kids lived with her, but were working, one who consistently had 2 shifts. She was devastated. Her daughter told me that that she would relearn of his death every day, and at night would love home to look for him. I'm guessing this is a sign of depression. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. I wanted to, you know, I remember I texting my grandson once, and I said, um, uh, "Where am I? Who am I?" Remember that? You know, I have saved my texts. That's one good thing about the internet and all that. I can go back, fortunately, and being a member of Kaiser for 30 years. Actually, I was a speech therapist at Kaiser, but I put
Wow.
myself through college as a transcriptionist. I have all that to refer to, like in my memoir. It's accurate, and I don't talk. I really, it's really raw. So, if you want it, it's gonna be raw, um, but accurate.
Wow.
And that's
Um,
important to me. And to tell my story with as much accuracy as I can. That's
yeah,
really important to me.
Monique has a really good question. She says, why do you think you were not resistant to go to the nursing home? Do you think your rehab background and played a role in your understanding the nursing home placement during your time of life? You understood what was necessary at the time, so to speak. So that because so many people are resistant when somebody tells them they need to go to rehab or assisted living. What do you think about
Well,
all
I think she put it absolutely correctly. My rehab experience as a caregiver and as a speech therapist, I worked a lot in nursing homes when I first started, um, and my empathy toward my family, what they were going through. I could see what was happening to my son, his back. He couldn't lift me. Um, and I knew my behavior was becoming terrible, but I couldn't control it. I tried my best, but I would do things that were horrifying to them and sickening. And that's the one thing about Lewy body compared to Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. The behavior issues, the swearing, the sexual stuff, it's just abhorrent to caregivers. It breaks their hearts more than being paralyzed or any of that other stuff. That's why Lewy body. Um, Robin Williams is my hero, by the way, and he's the most prominent person who had Lewy body.
Mhm.
Sadly, ended up killing himself, I think, to protect his family against what was happening to him. He didn't know he had Lewy body, by the way. It took the autopsy to
Wow.
definitive that.
Wow. Um, Meryl says, Ginger sounds like Katharine Hepburn. Yeah, if I closed my eyes, I think I would be listening to Katharine Hepburn. You're very articulate.
She's one of my heroes too.
Yeah. Well, you're very articulate and you're probably has a little bit to do with being a speech language pathologist. So the
And working in the neurology clinic for so long, I worked with Lewy body. I worked with other dementias, so I do have some. I took classes at Stanford too, so I do have some knowledge of it, and I do the research as all I can. I really enjoy it, so I try to keep up to date.
man, so many positive words of encouragement. I'm going to send all these to you, Ginger, because these are wonderful things for you to reflect on and sharing your journey. Kathleen says, I heard an outstanding presentation by a physician about what can happen with medication. I'll send you the information. And says I attend a lot of these Zoom presentations, and this one stood out as among the top ever. And Kathleen, I agree with you. And I knew the moment I read Ginger's email that she was willing to come on and share this story, I was like, wow, this is going to be a really good one. Let's see. Also, Carolyn says, do you think being a caregiver contributed to your stress that brought on your, oh, okay. So this is an interesting thing. You don't, so her question was, do you think being a caregiver contributed to the stress that may have brought on the condition?
I don't think so. I just think it was age had something to do with it. I did have some bad habits, eating habits. I had an addiction problem for a while, and by the way, I was diagnosed at one point with bipolar, and that wasn't bipolar, it was dementia coming on, and my psychiatrist has completely cleared me. I have no more bipolar, by the way. So I think that's kind of interesting. A lot of people are being diagnosed with bipolar who probably shouldn't be.
Karen has a great question here. How did you go from 1 med to 30? Like, what period of time did that occur?
Oh, I would say months, because I was only on 1 med 10 years ago. Oh, well, I would say, let me say I was on about 5 at that point. Now, I was only on 1 psychotropic med. I was on, a high blood pressure. I actually had diabetes, which I'm cleared of diabetes too. And so I was on about 5 or so at least, maybe, and slowly maybe the next year add a few. Toward the end, though, right before hospice, when I was so ill, that's when they just piled them on at that point. And they kept, I can see my beautiful Canada geese right now. Yeah, they piled them on, but they kept switching, and I think people are familiar with that. I would go from one to the next, maybe, pass at one point, maybe. And I went. They would keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And I'm not, I'm not against them. I think they did their best, but I think it needs to be fixed. I'm actually going to be doing something on Mad in America. Have you heard of them?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to know about them. It's an organization that's very much against polypharmacy and all that, and they're going to be doing something
you
on.
Should be their spokesperson.
Well,
I'll look this up. Now there's a few comments that I read related to not all nursing homes are created equal. Were you an only one nursing home, or you mentioned how many?
I started off at a subacute, and then I went to a board and care that was horrific. Oh my gosh, it was so awful that I turned on the fire alarm, and the police came. It's part of my story. Then I went back home. Then I went to a different nursing home. Let me see. Then I went back home. Then I went to a nursing home that was a part subacute, part nursing home. And then the COVID happened, and I got hospice there, and that's where all the meds happened.
Okay, so the other thing, I realized you were not in your right mind in these various settings, but what are some of the things that you would define as a poor operator versus a good operator, or
Well, because of COVID, the last nursing home I was in, it was actually turned into a board and care at that point. Um, she only had, she kept losing her clients, losing her patients one by one. And I was only the only one, and there was her mother who really had bad Lewy body, and he was pretty awful. He wouldn't communicate. He wouldn't talk to me. He was an excellent, skilled nursing home caregiver. Yeah,
Mhm.
and never embarrassed me, you know, but he wouldn't talk to me. I was so lonely. So I think that's important. If I could get that across, people who are running nursing homes or caregivers that are listening to me right now, to talk about the loneliness aspect. Talk to your person, talk to your loved one, because they're desperate for that. I was just desperate for someone to communicate with me. So that's one thing. I can't really complain about the physical care I was getting. It was excellent, really, except for the last one when that with the only one caregiver, and he had so much to do that he would leave me. I think I talked about it at one point up to 14 hours
Ooh.
in a
Oh.
wet poopy diaper. I
Oh
mean, you
no,
can
and that's
imagine
where
how
you
that
figured out
was.
how to change your own diaper. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. No, these are your tolerance for this. Now throughout this time, I mean, I know that your relationship with your son was fractured, but he was
Hmm.
still visiting you there. Was oh no.
No, I
Okay.
had no visitors. No.
Oh, because it's in COVID.
It was COVID.
Okay.
He could have stood outside at the outside, but he didn't. But maybe no one told him to, or he could, because I read later on people talking about people took outside the window on the pathway. At least was able to wave, and that didn't happen. So if I could talk about that, let that happen. If someone's in a nursing home and they got COVID or they're infected, there is there's a window or a door. So that would have helped a lot if I'd had that. I
Wow.
did have one grandson who used to send me books. I'm an
Oh.
inveterate reader, as you can imagine. I love but I was so desperate for reading material. I remember reading Stephen King's It 3 times.
Oh my.
Really, because I had nothing else to read.
Wow. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I mean, we burned through an hour like it was nothing, and I could talk to you anytime. Ginger, I know myself and anybody listening to this wants to put you on a pedestal and a platform. And Carolyn says, Ginger, you should be testifying before Congress. Who seem to be in complete denial about the dementia crisis and how it impacts patients and families. And I think from your perspective, you would be very excellent. But
Thanks.
so this is recorded. We're gonna post it later today. Ginger, I'm personally gonna send you the recording. I'll send you all these great chat comments so you can read through them. But and I'd love the idea of you linking up with the pharmacist that's on, and we have you back and take a look at those 30 meds.
Okay.
That would be an absolute amazing discussion. But you are just wonderful, and thank you so much for reaching out and being willing to talk to us about this very important topic and really celebrate your recovery.
Thank you, Steve. It is an honor to be here, and I really appreciate those comments. They're just making me so happy. So thank you.
All right. This is great, everybody. How can we not have a great weekend knowing that Ginger is out of the situation she has, and a person that's out there being a spokesperson for better care for all of us. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Okay.
You bet.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.